Hello and welcome to part 2 of my tier lists of Disney films throughout the decades. We are still in the 1930s and 40s. The last video, if you haven't watched it, please go watch that. It's the one before this one. And I put Snow White, Pinocchio, Fantasia, Reluctant Dragon and Dumbo into the tier list. It's on the screen at the moment. And so it remains to be said, we've got the last 5 films of the 1940s, which are Bambi, Saludos Amigos, Three Caballeros, Fun and Fancy 3, and I was going to say The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. No, it's the Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Crane. So we might as well just dive straight into this. So our next film, as I said, is Bambi, which I believe came out in 1942. What can I say about Bambi? It's a very well-loved Disney film, just not by me. I really don't like Bambi. There are many reasons for this, but I'm going to go through some pros and cons that I've got. We'll do the cons first. Okay, first of all, his mum gets shot for absolutely no reason. It does not benefit the story in the slightest or have any effect on the story whatsoever to have his mum killed. It's all just very sad. His mum's died. You got the mama, which is heartbreaking bit. It's just there to upset you. I appreciate it was some anti-hunting thing, but come on, it's the 1940s, guys. You can't even do anti-hunting things now, really, on film and get away with it too much. So 1940s, you not get away with it, you know what I mean. And it actually have any effect, I mean. 1940s, you would most definitely not, especially when World War II was going on, and quite frankly, we were going around shooting other people, and other people were shooting us, so in various different countries. So to have a film about anti-hunting in 1942 just seemed ridiculous. And I'm a vegetarian. So it's not like I'm really pro-hunting or really pro-hurting animals or anything like that. I'm really not. I just don't think it needed to be in a children's film. Even though those children watching it would have been like, oh, really sad. Trust me, if they were into certain families, they would have just grown up continuing to go out and hunt with their dads, you know, on a weekend, go on a hunting trip, you know, particularly in America, and would have totally been quite content shooting a deer. So it literally affects the story in no way whatsoever, which leads me on to the next point. The fact that you have this really emotional thing of his mum dying and then instantly go on to tick, 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 little April shower. And it's like, what are you doing? You can't just gloss over it. His mum's just died. It's very emotional, which proves my point of it was pointless. Because even the next scene, they're making it all cutesy and yay! And bleakness for no reason. And that is one of the main reasons I don't like Bambi. The second part is it has no storyline. There is maybe very little storyline. It's literally this fawn is born, very cute. He plays in the ice. I'll get to that on pros. And his mum dies. Then there's some like April showers. Then he grows up and he meets, you know, well, he doesn't meet Faylene, he meets her earlier on in the film, but, you know, ends up with Faylene. That's it. That's the story. How you can make that into a film that's over an hour long, I have absolutely no idea. And quite frankly, it bores me to tears. And I am, as you know, hence the fact I have this channel. I am a huge Disney fan, but I don't like it. Sorry. Let's see, let me just check. I've got my little notes. I had some. The dog literally destroyed them this time. I mean, not even before, where he got one of the sheets and ripped the corner off. He literally annihilated them when I was upstairs. I'm not even sure how he got them. I'm really not on. My husband had moved the papers forward for something, but the dog got hold of them, so there we go. So pretty much nothing happens. Covered that. Yeah, regardless, they all nearly die at the end, but don't. Okay. See, this isn't like The Lion King. We're obviously in The Lion King, you know, his dad dies, and it's relevant because that's the whole thing, is that he is going to be the king. Now, the King of the Forest thing with Bambi, it's just not that big a deal. It's like they've just picked this random stag that just happened to be Bambi's father, that he has very little relationship within the film at all. It looks like his mum don't really have a much of a relationship, but you wait till my husband's blog review that he did a few years ago. It comes up about that, because, yeah, he covers that in a very Ben way of doing things. Ben's my husband, if you didn't already know. The plus side, because there are some pros to this film. The animals are very cute. Just like I said in Snow White, with the animals in Snow White, they're very cute. I love a cute little animal. I'm a right little sucker for that. As I said, big animal lover. A fawn trying to, you know, it's not the word manipulate. What's I'm looking for? I can't think of the word. A fawn trying to be on ice is very funny and cute. I mean, quite frankly, when you watch fawns walk, they walk really strangely. They look like their legs have just been put onto them and they're trying to figure out how to use them, which I suppose technically to them they have when they've just been in a womb. But even when they're a bit older, even deer, to be honest, you see deer wander around, they do look like their legs have just been stuck on them and they're trying to figure out how the hell they're supposed to balance on them. But, you know, putting that on ice was very funny. And so the good I will give them the fact that there was obviously a good intention in the film, an anti-hunting good intention, and I'm kind of here for it. But regardless, Bambi, am I going to put it in the E tier? No, because I think it has enough pluses and it's enough of a popular film to not warrant the E tier, but it's going in D because I just don't like it. So the next film is Saludos Amigos, which I appreciate a lot of people haven't seen. In fact, the next few films, in fact, possibly the next four, are not known for being like big Disney films. But basically in the mid-40s, following on from the war, I think it was, or maybe even partly during the war, Disney went through this phase of a couple of films, so Saludos Amigos and then the next film, Three Caballeros, where they were trying to, I think they had like the Latin American tourist board or something. Why do I always forget to switch the washing machine off or pause the washing machine when I'm filming? You might not be able to hear it, who knows? I'm going to keep filming. So, yeah, they were obviously working with the Latin American Tourist Board. I think a lot of Latin America had been lumped in with, you know, the Nazi side during World War II, and they wanted to get away from that stereotype that not stereotype, but that association with them. So I think they enlisted Disney to help them with trying to boost the tourism trade again and make them look a little bit better and sort of show all the positives to Latin America. So that was the point of the next two films. However, as much as I don't know what Latin America's like now, I've never been there, although I very much want to go, and I quite sort of I've quite some affiliation with Latin America. I love the culture, so I'd really like to go at some point in my life, maybe several times. But in the 1940s, it wasn't in the best state, and it really does feel like in these films it is a huge amount of Latin American propaganda. Take with that what you will. Comment underneath if you have a thought on it. I'm not trying to be offensive or anything. It's just the general. I think if you go onto Wikipedia and look into it, that is the general consensus that it was Latin American propaganda. And they really do that. They really try to make it look like the most amazing place in the world, and they enlist some Disney magic to do that. So it's all about researchers going to South America, and it has some live action bits and some animated bits. Again, seemed quite a popular concept in the 40s for Disney films to have, you know, that mix of animation and live action. So the cons of the films. I think it would bore children to tears. Even in the 1940s, it would bore children to tears. And possibly some adults would be bored to tears, especially now. Definitely no kids or a lot of adults would not find this film interesting at all. There is a parrot, quite well-known parrot, called Jose Carioca. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably wrong. I'll put it on the screen so you can pronounce Spanish better than I can. My husband watching this going, well, it's clearly pronounced like that because he speaks Spanish. So I know, like a white English bloke speaking Spanish. Mind-blowing. But he does. He's actually at a Spanish lesson at the moment while I'm filming this. So he knows how to pronounce those words, and he probably pronounced it differently. Anyway, green parrot called Jose, and he spends the entire film smoking a cigar, which, as I've said in reviews of the previous films, and I know it was the 1940s, but looking at it from a modern day perspective, it's not overly good to have this character constantly smoking a cigar the whole way through. And then finally, sorry Sam, Goofy. Goofy is in this film again, and it's him with a horse, a little cowboy segment, which we've already had in The Reluctant Dragon. So I really don't know why they felt the need to put pretty much the same thing into this film as well. But I suppose Goofy was obviously popular at the time. He's popular now still. So it was obviously a good selling point. The pluses of the film. Donald Duck. I love Donald Duck. Like, he's possibly my favourite. He is my favourite of the OG Disney characters. And I also really like the Chipmunks too, Chip and Dale. But Donald Duck's a legend. He's hilarious. So that was definitely a plus, him being in the film. Another plus was Donald Duck with a llama. I found learning about Latin America during the war was actually really interesting. So for me, that's a plus. Basically, they have about two or three different cartoons. I mean, because the Donald Duck, Jose stuff sort of goes through it. But you got the bit of Donald with the llama on the bridge. That's pretty good. You have the Goofy segment, and then you also have a segment regarding this little plane called Pedro Plane. Now, Pedro he's a little mail carrier plane, but he's like the baby plane. He's got a mummy plane and a daddy plane. Make of that what you will. Ben does in his review. And he's got, I think there's some reason why mummy and daddy plane can't fly across this mountain to get to, basically fly over the Andes to get the mail to where it needs to go, but somehow Pedro ends up doing it. But it's really cute. The plane is really cute, and it's a really nice little scenes, little cartoon. So I did enjoy that. And then finally, I'm just a spoiler alert for the next film. Saludos Amigos is not the Three Caballeros, and that's a plus. So where am I going to put this? Do I dislike it as much as Bambi? No, I don't really dislike it, to be honest. Do I like it as much as the other films, the three up the top here, five up the top here? No. So I think it has to go in the meh tier, as I call it, which is C. So it's a C tier. Next film we go on to is The Three Caballeros. Caballeros. The Three Caballeros. Another film which is pro-Latin American propaganda. But again, it went through some various different things. And we have Donald Duck, which is amazing. We have Jose Carioca. And then we have a new guy called Pedro Pistoles. Is it Pedro? Panchito Pistoles, sorry. I love the fact that his surname is basically Pistols, because he is like this sort of Latin American cowboy character, and he's got guns all the time, and he's got his pistols, so that's why he is Panchito Pistoles. I'm really trying to sound Spanish. What can I say about The Three Caballeros? Well, first of all, you got the smoking parrot, which I'm not keen on. Jose also has an absolute unhealthy obsession with Bahia in Brazil, which he just goes majorly overboard on it, and the scene on that just goes on forever. The various different cartoon segments in it, to be fair, off the top of my head, I can't even remember them. They went on for way too long. This was the first of the films that I was watching through with Ben. It was the first time I'd seen it too. And I was so bored. I was so desperately wanting this film to end. It is just dull. And there is also this scene where basically they're flying around on a magic carpet, flying around on Copacabana Beach, and just basically flying at women in bikinis. Listen to Ben's review on that in a few weeks' time when we actually put it up on the channel on The Three Caballeros. He has a very interesting way of wording it. I'm not going to put it on this vlog, video. It's not even a vlog, this video. But yeah, he has an interesting take on it. Pros of the film. The Araquan bird. Now, if you've not seen the Araquan bird, it's amazing. I will link it below. If I can put a little video up now of it, I will do. The Araquan bird is iconic and amazing, and it's by far the best thing to come out of that film by an absolute country mile. So, I don't even need to do this for very long with The Three Caballeros. It's terrible. I hate it. It is going into the E tier. Sorry if anybody likes that. If you do like it, please comment underneath. Let me know what it is in particular you like about it, unless it's the Araquan bird, which, you know, I'm so with you on that, but I just don't think the Araquan bird would have been able to save a whole film. Stick it into Saludos Amigos, and, you know, it would lift Saludos Amigos possibly to a B tier. But Three Caballeros is so bad it couldn't even lift it to a D. So that's how bad the film is that I love the Araquan bird that much. So, on to Fun and Fancy Free, the penultimate film in this decade and the penultimate film in this tier list. So basically Fun and Fancy Free, it's great. It's got Jiminy Cricket in it at the beginning. It was, I think I mentioned it in the Pinocchio review, in the Pinocchio discussion in the previous video, that has Jiminy Cricket. It also has a small moment with Figaro and possibly Cleo. I can't remember. It's been a little while since I watched it. It's good. It's a perfectly fine film. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just one of those ones where I don't know why they made it. And it has some very sort of questionable characters in it, to be honest. So it has this another Goofy segment. I'm not sure what that's all about, but Goofy is in it again. It might be in the Mickey and the Beanstalk segment, actually thinking about it, but starts with Jiminy Cricket singing a song about being fun and fancy free, and then he basically goes into some storybooks, I think. There's a strange bit involving a baby doll, I'm pretty confident. But again, it's been a long time since I've seen it. The first sort of cartoon segment is about a bear called Bongo that was a circus bear, treated like really, really talented, but treated terribly by the circus. God, you don't make circuses look good, but you know, that's probably because generally, especially in those days, they weren't very good. But treated badly by the circus, and he escapes it back into the woodland. Obviously, a bear that has grown up in captivity is going to find the whole thing very, very strange. However, he falls in love with this other bear called Lulabelle, but Lulabelle already has this other big, massive bear that's interested in her. But they have this entire song about giving them a slap, which is basically tell a girl you like her, you give her a slap. I'm just going to leave you with that. And then the next segment is leading up to Mickey and the Beanstalk, and it's basically it's this guy, this fully grown guy, and this little girl, and these two puppets. They're acting like the The ventriloquist puppets are part of the party, and they're like sentient. They are creepy as hell. Like, I've always found ventriloquist dummies creepy as hell, but these ones are just creepy. I will put a picture up on the screen now of what they look like. To me, that's creepy. You may find it cute, I find it creepy. But the funny thing is this guy, Edgar Bergen, apparently was a ventriloquist back in the day. Ventriloquist back in the day when this was filmed. But the thing is, when they're moving their mouths and talking, he is moving his mouth too. So I'm not really sure what a ventriloquist was back in the 1940s, but I thought a big part of it was not moving your mouth. So I would say, in general, as a con, the film is very dated. As I said, the whole segment with the bear, I don't think that kids nowadays would relate to. The same with, definitely not with the ventriloquist dummies. They really wouldn't relate to that at all. It's just a very strange party. But on the plus side, is not the Three Caballeros. Jiminy Cricket, you know how much I love him. And the Jack and the Beanstalk segment is really... Sorry if I keep doing this, I'm just reading my notes. The Jack and the Beanstalk segment's really good. I like the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, but the fact that it's Mickey, Donald and Goofy, not so much Goofy, but Mickey and Donald, love them. I love Donald a little bit more than Mickey, but I do love Mickey. Mickey's great. And the bear story in general, I quite enjoyed that. I thought that was good. So the two little cartoons they have in it are great. However, do I think it's a good film? Thinking back, I initially had this a D tier, but did I dislike it more than Saludos Amigos? No. Did I like it more than Bambi? Yes. So I've decided to put it in with C. And finally, we have got The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Crane, which, if people have been to Disneyland California, they are very, very much missing Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. I don't know if they had it at Disney World, but I think they've only just recently closed it at Disneyland Paris. I'm sure they had it at Disney World and it became the Winnie the Pooh Adventures one. So basically, this is split up into two films, as you can tell from the title. It is The Wind in the Willows and it is The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So basically it's just cartoon, two animated stories split half and half of those two films. It has Bing Crosby in it. He sings some of the songs, particularly in The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Crane. I think he's actually the narrator for that one. Love a bit of Bing. He's fine by me. The cons, I don't think The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is a suitable story to use in an animated children's film. It is about a headless horseman that goes around and chops people's heads off. That is not suitable for a children's film, I'm sorry. Maybe it was deemed, maybe kids were tougher in the 1940s. I mean, you know, they lived through a war, so probably. But I just don't think that's suitable. It's actually pretty scary in parts, especially towards the end. And spoiler alert, Ichabod gets his head chopped off at the end. You don't see it, but there's this whole scary scene where he's being stalked by the Headless Horseman. and then he's never seen of again. So it is strongly implied that the headless horseman took his head, which for an animated children's film, no, it should not be in there. So my theory on the cons of the film is they should have just made an adaptation of The Wind in the Willows. Why not? They've obviously got the rights to it, so why not just have Wind in the Willows? The pros to the film. I love creepiness, so I personally enjoyed The Legend of Sleepy Hollow because I like that sort of film. I like the story of The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, especially when Johnny Depp is in the film, which obviously he's not in this one. They had some really funny song about Katrina, and I can't remember what it was about, but I just remember it really made me and Ben laugh. There was a particular expression, which I'm sure Ben covers in his review of it. So, again, his blog review that he'll be basically reading out his blog review from 5 years ago, and I'll be putting some pictures over the top of it. Will be coming out in video form soon, in the next few weeks. What else do we got? I like Wind in the Willows too. Wind in the Willows is a classic story. I grew up with it. There was a place near where I grew up called Maple Durham that was known as Toad Hall because it was supposedly, I think it was what Toad Hall was based on. So that was pretty cool. I always had quite a strong affiliation with that. I think Mr. Toad's really funny, obnoxious but funny. So I thought that was really good fun. And in with the car with the pop pop, I always find quite good. So I appreciate I'm rushing through these a bit, but the thing with these films is because they're not known as being such classics, there isn't so much to say on them, I find. So Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Not Legend of Sleepy Hollow, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. Because the simple fact that it is so scary, the second story, I did quite enjoy it, but it's going into D because I just don't think it's overly appropriate. Why is that stopping there? There we go. So there we have it. Our S tier is Snow White. Our A tier is Fantasia, Reluctant Dragon and Dumbo. B tier is Pinocchio. C tier, Saludos Amigos and Fun and Fancy Free. D tier, Bambi and The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad. And then finally E tier, The Three Caballeros. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts were with this, where you would put these films in your own tier list, whether you feel I've done a great disservice to a film or I've boosted a film way higher than you think it should be on the tier list. Let me know in the comments below. I do quickly want to add an apology to anybody that saw the first one and was expecting me to upload this on Wednesday. I am very sorry I didn't get around to doing it, but I'm uploading it today on Thursday, so the next video will be going up on Monday and it will be the tier list part 1 of the Disney films from the 50s and 60s. In the meantime, please make sure to like, comment and subscribe if you're enjoying my videos. Please make sure you check out my Disneyland vlogs, particularly the one where I'm in Disneyland Park, because that's really good. But I think the Dream Castle video is a really, really good one as well. I like all my videos, obviously. I'm biased, but I particularly enjoyed the Dream Castle hotel review. I think me and Ben bounced off each other quite nice in that one. So check that out. I hope you have an amazing week and I'll see you in my next video. Mwah!